Trailblazers by HRTech Edge, the video podcast where we explore the latest trends and insights in HR and technology. I'm your host, Neha, and today we have Lehua Stonebraker, Senior Vice President, People for SmartRecruiters, the modern all-in-one hiring platform. Lehua has over 20 years of experience in recruitment, HR operations, and strategy. She has worked for well-recognized brands like Gallup, Ceridian. Please join me in welcoming Lehua Stonebraker. Thank you for joining us today.
Nice to meet you, Neha. Thank you for having me.
All right, I'm very excited to have you on our podcast, and I'm sure we'll have a great time learning about you and SmartRecruiters.
Yay.
All right. Welcome, Lehua. It's such a pleasure to have you with us today. You have an impressive portfolio and done some amazing work, which I would like to learn from. You worked with big names like Gallup, TD Ameritrade, and Ceridian. What are some of the most valuable lessons you've learned from working with them?
I think one of the things that I love the most about my career has the diversity. So the industries that I've been a part of, the fact that I've been in both startup, large enterprise organizations, I've spanned public and private. So I think all of those have culminated into lots of learning more importantly, the business. So how do I speak to executives? How do I speak to a board of directors? How do I translate that when it comes to HR programs, policies, and things that we want to do on behalf of the employee base, and helping them to connect to the work that they're doing has really been instrumental in getting, I would say, probably immediate credibility and the ability to build meaningful relationships from there. That's probably been the most value that I've gotten from the variety of brands and companies that I've been able to be so fortunate to have worked for.
So meaningful relationships it is. All right, let's talk a little bit about, what you do. You have a lot of responsibility as SVP people, don't you? So what are some of the tasks you do in a role, and how does the people team help the company achieve its vision?
Yeah. So the global head of people here at SmartRecruiters means that I oversee roughly 480 employees at the moment across 17 different countries globally. So my job is really to, again, create programs, policies, and procedures that not only are compliant, because there's a lot of restrictions that come with different country requirements, but really making sure that what we're building for the organization is transparent, that there's consistency around what we're doing, that it's relevant to the people that we're building these programs for, with the overarching goal to empower them to reach their full potential. Because if we help employees reach their full potential, then we actually help the business in terms of seeing optimal outputs and that really that win-win scenario.
Correct. You just mentioned that people being the linchpin of SmartRecruiters. I remember one more thing which you guys are so vocal about: you are who you hire. What does the slogan mean to you, and how does it influence your hiring strategy?
Oh, I love that you brought that up. Yeah, you are who you hire. When we think about the culture and the DNA, it really is underpinned by our 4 values, which is CEO, so own your job, empower yourself in your own role, impact always, so always be looking to make a difference, looking at the way that you collaborate across the organization, whether it's within your own team, cross functions, if you will, so the as one sort of mantra. So our idea is that the core values are really what make us who we are as an organization, and that then transcends in terms of how do we go through the interview and selection process, and who do we bring into the organization, because the idea is to evolve and elevate our culture rather than disrupt it. And so you are who you hire. So we have to make really critical and impactful decisions, not just in terms of what people do, but how they do it and how do they fit into that organizational makeup.
Of course, the mission SmartRecruiters has set eyes on is urgent, and it resolves many issues. So let's talk about, you have 4,000 plus customers. That's impressive, I must say. So you must be doing something right. You have such a loyal customer base: Big Bosch, LinkedIn, Skechers, Visa, you name it, right? So how does SmartRecruiters help them achieve their hiring goal?
I think really the idea is putting ourselves as an augmented partner to the business. So it's not necessarily selling features. It's not just selling the platform, but it's selling the value and what that means for the organization. So how do we have a platform that is easy to use, flexible based on where different companies are in their maturity, based on their hiring journey, the challenges that they're facing, the connectivity. So how easy do we make it so that they can bring in the ecosystem of partners that they need, whether it's HRIS systems, assessment vendors, whatever that might be. And then we actually have to kind of put money where our mouth is, meaning that we've got to stand up and deliver an exceptional implementation, onboarding, and then continuation of that support journey. So making sure that they are constantly looking at what are your overarching objectives? Are we meeting them? How can we basically train you, again, thinking about that kind of keyword I keep coming back to of empowerment. How can we empower you so you have all of the knowledge and the availability to do things without the bottleneck of having to wait for others? So all of those reasons have really put us on the map when it comes to trust radius and the Fosway grid, when we think about analysts and really the importance it is for us to stand out in our industry, but then you have to back it up by the delivery of our services and what our platform offers. So I think that's where we've been very, very successful.
Right. So that's quite a unique approach you have. And your organization recently bagged 4 Comparably Awards for workplace excellence. This shows how determined you are to raise the entire workforce. And please spill the beans on what you have been doing differently to achieve such amazing results.
Yeah. So I talk about empowerment and relevancy for our employee base, and that really comes back to listening. So I'll start with kind of what we do from a continuous listening journey. So we have multiple touch points and ways that we try to elicit feedback from our employees and what matters to them. And we know that those things can continue to shift. And so that's why it's not point in time. We just completed our biannual. So twice a year, we do a deep engagement survey. We look at a lot of different culture factors, look at a lot of impact themes, and then we do something about it. So what we translate from a survey, we actually turn into qualitative listening sessions that we hold throughout the year, but not necessarily just from the people or the HR organization. We actually partner with what we have here at SmartRecruiters as an employee board. So there's actually an application process. Somebody has to raise their hand. We've got a mix of geography, level, tenure, individual contributor, manager. So we have 8 employee boards that represent the voice of our employees, and we partner with them on all sorts of things. So this continuous listening and that qualitative listening session is done in conjunction with them. We get a lot of really great sort of, I would say, psychological safety environments where people feel very comfortable raising the things that mean something to them. And then we do that, we connect the dots. So not every piece of feedback is something that we action on, but what we do is we look at the culmination of those and we look at, again, what's going to translate into greatest impact for our employees and greatest impact for the business. And we connect those dots back. We also do things like our monthly EMPS pulse surveys, and then we build programs around it. So one of the things that was missing before I came to SmartRecruiters was really a foundation around what's our compensation philosophy, what's our positioning in the market, how do we differentiate ourselves when it comes to attracting and retaining top talent. So we went out, we did a lot of research. We, again, fit for purpose built and designed a philosophy that made sense for us. And we've introduced it to the organization. We're getting through the next sort of phase of that foundational building, which is looking at all of our levels. So how do we define an individual contributor professional versus a manager versus a director? And that is going to, again, transcend into transparency of where do I fit into the organization? Where are my development gaps? Where do I want to go? How do I build learning paths around that? So we're in a very sort of critical building mode right now. But these are all things that our employees have been needing, they've deserved. And I think for those reasons, we've won a lot of those awards around perks and benefits, compensation, happiness at work, right? These are all things that are important and that matter.
They're important, yeah, and matter. And actually that resonates well with, how your organization shape up in future. So as long as we are discussing recognition, let's bring the point in case about your personal ones too. You were recognized as one of the top 50 leaders in tech and TAtech, 100 most influential talent acquisition thought leaders 2022. Congratulations on those.
Thank you
So
so
tell
much.
our audience how you feel about these awards and what they mean for your career and your impact on the industry.
I have been a recruiter since I've left college. So I got my degree in HR with a focus in business management. Job number 1 was all around interview selection and then recruiting. So I've been in the space for a long time. I'm very passionate about the recruitment and the HR world, having now worked for HR and recruitment tech companies, I've loved it even more. So the accolades for me, I think, are a culmination of all of the work that I've been so fortunate to be a part of, but it's not necessarily a spotlight that I think I seek to grab. I really just feel it's important that there are things that happen in the business world, whether you're in a small, medium, large organization, whether you work for an independent, like I used to do headhunting for a small boutique technology firm, regardless of where you're at, I think that everyone has a special voice that they can share. So it's more about the idea and the thought leadership that's really important for me versus having my name tethered to certain awards. But it is definitely something I'm very honored to have been a recipient of.
All right, that's quite inspiring. You sharing this will motivate many todays for sure. So, Lehua, you have a long history of building people, teams, and culture, as you said. I would like to know how you foster the culture of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging within a globally distributed team, which you mentioned earlier, and ensuring its sustainability.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think the focus of DEI, most times people think about whether it's hiring targets or just the demographic makeup. And that is one piece of the story and something that is important. But for us, it's really ingrained in the behavior and the habits that we basically demonstrate on a daily basis. So not only do we have, I would say, the traditional HR things when it comes to code of conduct and respect in the workplace and anti-discrimination and all of those pieces that are really important just to know what the guardrails are in terms of how do we respect ourselves, how do we respect one another, how do we create boundaries around that. But at the same time, it's really just demonstrated in terms of our voice. So for example, our recruitment team, every single candidate that they interview with, diversity and the sense of belonging and how important that is for us as a culture is brought up in every single conversation. We look at things like our talent makeup. It's not necessarily, again, based on diversity targets and hiring targets, but it's really being able to have very honest conversations. So if a candidate, whether internal or external, is not selected for a job, they actually get a conversation, they get meaningful feedback that can propel them for success in whatever they do next in their career. So diversity, belonging becomes so much more a part of every motion and kind of is underpinned in our daily lives versus almost these programmatic things that get pushed out from top down in the organization.
Correct. So promoting equity requires an ongoing effort. So it's valuable to learn how experienced leaders like you approach this challenge. Talent acquisition is such a dynamic field and you have your fingers on the pulse. What emerging challenges or specific shifts do you foresee around the horizon? How are you planning to deal with them, and any thoughts you want to share with us today?
I think the elephant in the room that you hear about everywhere in terms of what's looming, because we're still so misunderstood, is generative AI. What is that going to do to the talent acquisition workforce, right? And not just the talent acquisition, but just workforce in general. We actually just held our first people team. So the HR team we call people here at SmartRecruiters. We had our first investment in us in terms of a half development day. And a big portion of that was learning how can we use AI in a way that's meaningful for each of us in our individual roles, as well as us outside of the organization. So I think AI continues to be a disruptive because it is unknown, but I think there's so much joy in being able to be curious and to test things. It's just a matter of making sure you're focusing and prioritizing in the right way, so you don't have a little bit of what's referred to as that squirrel effect. The other big disruptor, which I think is, again, nothing new, but just one that we always have to keep our eye on, is compliance and privacy. We've got states here in the US that change on a dime and you have to adapt. We've got countries that have stricter regulations when it comes to accessing certain pieces of information or what you may share from a data processing standpoint. So really that importance of being able to have compliance and privacy, particularly when we think about SmartRecruiters and our platform. How do we have something that allows for you to be agile and to scale based on those evolving trends, and really just staying on top of the learning and making sure that you have awareness and you've got a team that really helps to embrace and apply what we have to evolve to.
Okay, so this is just last personal question. What do you like to do in your free time?
I've got 3 boys. My husband and I joke that we've got every life stage. So I've got a son that's in his final year of nursing school in college. I've got a high schooler and then a middle schooler. And you may have heard them, so I apologize in the background, but 2 dogs that happened to sneak in through my door. So I spend a lot of time with my family. We do hockey, baseball is usually an every night occurrence. We're gone almost every weekend for tournaments. So we're just in that stage of life where we've got our fun things that we do during the day, and then our focus is just really with the kids and making sure that we're creating meaningful memories together. So that's what I like to do, is just be with my family.
That's so heartful. So you paint such an insightful picture of shifting talent acquisition landscape, and I can't wait to see how smart recruiters continue leading the way in hiring challenges. And Lehua, I had an incredible time speaking with you on Tuesdays with Trailblazers. Thank you so much for taking the time out today for us, and thank you for giving your unique journey and thoughtful perspective. And I really appreciate you opening up to us with such an honest account of personal story and learnings. Hearing your candid thoughts was truly inspiring. Thank you so much for this time today. And thank you all for joining us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a review. And do check out smartrecruiters.com to move faster and hire smarter. Until next time, stay tuned with HR Tech Edge for more insights into all things HR and technology. Till we meet again, signing off, your host, Neha. Thank you.